For some who collect scouting memorabilia, they call it the Mona Lisa. Others in the collecting world simply call it the Magnificent Cloth. Whatever name it goes by, this collection of badges, pins, and medals from the very early days of the Boy Scouts of America is one of a kind and now finds its home here at the National Scouting Museum. We'll learn all about this unique and certainly rare collection of scouting memorabilia, as well as the man who collected it in this edition of Artifact of the Week. Paul Myers is from Goshen, Indiana, which is a few miles south of Elkhart, the RV capital of the world, and about 25 miles south-southeast of South Bend, Indiana. He is an Eagle Scout and was very active in the Order of the Arrow as a youth, telling me that one of the saddest days of his life was when he turned 18 and was unable to remain active as a youth airman. As an adult, he served as an assistant scoutmaster and scoutmaster. He also served in several district positions and was presented with the Silver Beaver about 45 years ago. Today, he is active on his council's executive board. If you are active in scouting memorabilia collecting, Paul is one of those at the top of the hobby, a master that many go to seeking advice and counsel. Now, just to be clear, Paul is not the artifact of the week. However, something Paul had in his collection, the Magnificent Cloth, is our subject this week. A couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to interview Paul about the Magnificent Cloth and how he came into possession of this unique artifact.
I was at a scout show in Philadelphia about 40 years ago, and a scouting professional man named Carl Hogue brought this to my table and said that he would like to sell it. He had approached all of the well-known high-dollar buyers. I was not one. I was a salesman with 3 kids in college, but he told me what he wanted for it, and I said I didn't have the money, but I could raise it, and I bought it. And since that time, over 40 years, I've been adding things that were missing. It came to me with just cloth badges, no pins. So over a 40-year period, I've scrounged and bought and borrowed and begged and damn near stole everything. It is, as far as I know, it is complete circa 1918.
Paul mentioned that several others passed on the opportunity to buy it, so I asked him what he saw that made him want to add this to his collection.
I bought it because I recognized that it was complete. In scout collecting, we very seldom get a chance to buy something that's complete. You buy this, you buy that, and after 30 years, you might have something that's complete. So I bought it, and one of the wealthiest men in the hobby, Bill Kern, a wonderful doctor from California, came over and said, "Show me what you see here." And I showed him, and he said, "I'll give you twice what you paid for it." And I was a young salesman making 40 grand a year, if that, and it was one of the biggest decisions of my life not to sell. It's the history of scouting circa 1918, and that is what I think is so very special about it.
While Paul saw this as complete, he acknowledged that there had been pins and medals attached to the cloth at some point in time that were removed. He also told me about his theory on how the purpose of the collection and how the cloth might have been assembled.
All the pins were gone. There were only 2 local pins from Philadelphia, a pin and a medal. And so I knew it was from Philadelphia. And of course I got it in Philadelphia from a Philadelphia scouting professional. So I assumed somebody probably a professional scouter, went to the warehouse in 1918, got a patch of every type and a pin of every type, put it on, maybe used it as an instrument to say, here are the things you can do in scouting. I got this idea about 10 years ago when one of our district commissioners went to the scout office and bought one of every every position patches, assistant scoutmaster, and sewed it on a blanket and displayed it at round table. And I thought, 40 years ago, somebody did this.
I asked Paul to tell me about his journey to fill in the missing items and his favorite artifact he found on the cloth.
For some reason, business merit badge, crossed quills was missing. And it's business merit badge in the early days is kind of a difficult merit badge, but there's like 4 variations. And I could find the 1922 variation, I could find the 1914 variation, I couldn't find the 1918 variation. Kelly Williams, my dear friend Kelly Williams, finally got me the business merit badge.
So that was probably the most unique story.
That was the most, well, and then the pins, the large Scoutmaster through Commissioner hat pins, they're scarce, but not, well, some of them are rare, but scarce but not rare. But the little lapel pins that the average scouter might wear on his suit coat are extremely rare and extremely scarce. And those came to me 1 or 2 at a time over a 40-year period. I would say the honor medal, because the honor medal wasn't on there. And I got that from a man named Harold Zittelman, who had a museum in Western Illinois, a little small Sterling Scout Museum. And he came to me one of the times when I didn't have much money, and he was closing out his Scout Museum, and he gave me a terrific deal on it, way undervalued. So that would be my favorite. And it was a gift of friendship.
Given the rarity of the magnificent cloth, I asked Paul how many times it has been displayed publicly.
No more than 6. I showed it, well, when I first got it, I showed it to a few people. And then I think at NOAC 2 years ago, I showed it in its entirety. It had everything on it at that time, but it's very, very few. Part of the problem is you need a description like you've done, because when people look at it, they don't know what they're looking at. In collecting, we say people don't know what they don't know. And with your description here, I'm so proud of the way you've done it. Sam Fairchild was bound and determined to put on the best Scout display in history at the 100th anniversary. So he contacted a lot of people and wanted to borrow things. And he wanted to borrow this. Well, this is very valuable, and I wasn't sure I wanted to lend it to him. But turns out he seems to be a pretty good guy, so I lent it to him. Then he didn't want to return it. He wanted to buy it. And I didn't particularly want to sell it, but he made me an offer like in The Godfather that I couldn't refuse. Fortunately for me, he never got the money. And so, but he did a magnificent display at the 2010 Jamboree, of which this was a centerpiece on a long, 6-foot-long display case. And I finally went to his house to repossess it, and he was very kind to me. So he's not, he was not a scoundrel to me.
So how did the magnificent cloth make its way to the National Scouting Museum in Philmont? Well, about 6 months ago, Paul engaged Russell Smart, chairman of the National Scouting Museum Task Force, in a conversation about Jamboree collectibles. Paul told Russell he had heard good things about the museum, about what we were doing out here, and the upgrade to the Scouting Heritage Gallery we had just completed. Over time, the topic shifted towards how collectors can plan for the future disposition of their collections. Russell told him that many artifacts from his collection are currently on display here at the museum, and there are items in private collections that would be welcomed additions to the NSM collection if they were offered.
I paid quite a bit of money for one of those little pins, and it laid on in my bedroom on our dresser for about 4 months. And Kathy finally said, "What's this little pin here?" And I told her what I paid for it, and she says, "Honey, wait, we better do something rather than lay it on our dresser where the cats are playing." And so I brought the cloth up, I kept it in the safe in the basement, brought the cloth up, put the pin on it, and then I said, this is sitting in my basement in the safe. This needs to be with Russell Smart and you guys at the Philmont Museum. Russell and my friend Chris Jensen came by my house. I met him at the Toledo Traderie. I gave it to him, just like I'd hand over a loaf of bread. In Scout collecting, we have a lot of trust. And he brought it down to Russell, and I'm not sure Russell's brought it out here. And you guys did an incredible job mounting it.
While bringing the magnificent cloth to the NSM has been in the works for months, it finally arrived on Tuesday of this week. Paul had no idea how we were going to display it, and when Paul and his wife Kathleen arrived at the museum on Wednesday, we had them unveil this new exhibit in the Scouting Heritage Gallery.
Pull it off. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Here, I'll take that. Here. Oh, what a brilliant way to do
Look
this.
at this. This is ingenious.
I love it. Oh, I like it
No, this
immensely. Like you say, several people can look at it at once.
Plus, we can
Really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people can look at it at once.
Right.
But no, but brilliant the way you did it is just brilliant.
Yeah, this way people can talk about it next to each other as they wander around, instead of just going from here to
Yeah.
here.
Exactly.
No, very clever.
No, that's great, just great.
Okay.
I was bawling, you saw me bawling. I was so proud of what you've done with it.
I asked Paul if he could go back over those 40 years since he acquired the cloth, could go through all of the steps to restore the items he believed were originally on the cloth, and now making that big donation to the NSM. Would he do it all over again?
Absolutely, absolutely. The joy of finding things that were missing over a 40-year period. At some great expense, I might add. My wife allows this. But, and just like this little pin here, this is the Grub Scout pin. This is from World War I, and the Grub Scout was a very easy award. Nobody kept the pin. They all kept the medals. And so consequently, finding this little pin, one of my friends said, he says, "You don't have that." I said, "I do too, it's on the cloth." And he came over and looked at us, "Wow, you've got one of those? Where'd you get that?" And I said, "At the Philadelphia Tradery in 1994.
Before we finish up today, let's take a closer look at the magnificent cloth. Overall, the cloth is 68 inches long and 12 inches tall. It's divided into 5 sections: youth insignia, rank badges, and badges of office. Uniforms from this era have the first class or second class badge sewn in the bottom half of the left sleeve. Tenderfoot rank was only a small pin until a cloth badge was introduced in 1921. Scouts who were serving as a patrol leader, scribe, or bugler and had earned one of the ranks could wear the unique combination badges. The yellow gold color was for patrol members and the bronze silver color was for patrol leaders. Metal badges for second class and first class in various sizes were available to wear on the front of the campaign style hat. The 2-line red capital letters Boy Scouts of America badge was worn over the right pocket of the uniform coat. Youth insignia, merit badges. There were a total of 58 merit badges available to be earned by Scouts in 1918-1919. Invention was deleted from the original group of 57 merit badges in 1917, with only 10 ever being earned. Physical development was added in 1914 and safety first was added in 1916. The wireless, later the radio, merit badge was introduced in 1919, suggesting that this grouping was assembled in 1918. Eagle Medal and other awards. Uniforms from this era have the cloth badges for Life and Star and the metal Eagle badge positioned over the left pocket of the uniform coat. There was no cloth badge for Eagle Scouts until 1924. The Eagle Medal on this cloth is a Type II variety manufactured by Dietz and Kloost. The other medals pinned on this section of the cloth are awards related to scouting service during the Great War. Although not on the original cloth, Paul added the Bronze Honor Medal for life-saving because so few scouts had ever seen one of these in person. Adult insignia. In the early days of scouting, there was only a limited number of adult positions for which insignia was available. Cloth badges were available for official uniform wear, and a variety of metal pins were available. The smaller ones were intended to be worn on formal civilian dress. The cloth has insignia for Assistant Scoutmaster, seen in red, Scoutmaster in green, Assistant Deputy Scout Commissioner, light blue, Deputy Scout Commissioner, dark blue, and Local Council Member, white. At the bottom are the Scout Commissioner, the blue with yellow wreath, and Scout Executive, white with yellow wreath. The only badge not on this cloth is the one for a member of the BSA National Council, purple fleur-de-lis. Miscellaneous insignia. In this final section of the cloth are a variety of insignia items, most of them used by both youth and adults. The cloth troop numbers were for the official uniform shirts, and the metal BSA and numerals were for the high collar of the formal uniform coat. Patrol emblems were various colors of cloth ribbons pinned to the sleeve of the shirt or coat, and a green cloth strip on the uniform coat sleeve represented 1 year of scouting service, and a red strip indicated 3 years. A generic contest medal and musician pin are also on display, plus a button and pin for 100% duty within the unit. On the right edge of the cloth badges for senior patrol leader, and assistant patrol leader, worn on the sleeve of the standard uniform shirt or coat. Donors to local scouting were often recognized with celluloid green and white letter buttons. So there you have it, a brand new exhibit on display in the Scouting Heritage Gallery. When you visit the museum this summer, make sure you check out this very unique piece of scouting history. And a special shout out to Paul and his wife Kathleen. Their visit with us here at the museum was their first time ever at Philmont. We hope it isn't their last. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of Scouting America through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.